All right, welcome everyone to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for August 28th to the 3rd of September 2017. Coming off of a solar eclipse from last week, last Monday, we are entering into what is the first quarter phase of this cycle. And first quarter phase is really good for taking action, taking steps towards any new insights or new things that have been coming into your life since last Monday. Now, with that being said, we still do have Mercury retrograde, so more than likely, whatever these insights are, it's all kind of up in the air, right? We're rethinking it, we're redoing it. Maybe these new beginnings aren't quite moving forward just yet, and so it's great to be flexible, right? That's still the case all week. Mercury's still going to be retrograde. Going direct early next week, though, okay? And next week we're going to have the full moon of this cycle, so that'll be a status check, a high point of whatever these new beginnings were or have been since then. And with Mercury going direct, probably some insights helping us then move things forward again, all right? Because we're, again, in this learning phase right now. So with all this flexibility and adaptability, though, it is still great to be implementing, and it's a fantastic week for that. First quarters where the moon squares up to the sun. This is actually a snapshot of a little bit later in the week, but coming into the week, first quarter phase, moon square sun, it's about taking action, buckling down, right? Taking the steps towards cultivating things with, again, that open mind with Mercury retrograde and willingness to shift and pivot in new directions. So in terms of the aspects, not a whole lot going on astrologically this week, very simple. We'll probably run through this quite quickly for each of the individual signs after this. But this does say a few things. It does say, first of all, that we do get a bit of a break from the collective energies this sort of work week. Okay, so if you've been feeling a lot of the transformations and changes with the eclipse and all of this, it could be that you know, depending on your personal chart, but collectively, it could be that we get a bit of a break from more of the major stuff and eventful stuff in our life, which is good. It's good to take a breath. It's good to take a step back and just have a bit of space and calm in terms of the events of our life. With that being said, though, it is, of course, the first quarter phase, and that's the active phase. So I think it's going to come to a lot of free will here on our part. Usually when things are easy like this or we get a bit of a pause, the free will tends to dominate. And so we can choose or choose not to work with this week, you know, in this way of taking action. But I think it's really good to challenge ourselves to do that. Again, since last Monday, if there's been any new insights or new things or ideas or whatever it is, excellent for that implementation. Now with that, though, Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn does give us some positive energy, which was highlighted last week. I believe it went exact last Thursday or Friday. And it's not a major aspect, but it does involve two very important planets, two sort of yin and yang planets. You got Jupiter and Saturn, which are partners here. And they very much represent our future and manifestation and what's being created in our life. And so with both of them in harmony, that's very good in that generally we can be, because again, sextiles are what can, it's the potential, it's an opportunity here. But what can be the case if we choose to cultivate this is both an open mind, which is Jupiter, and then also the willingness to put in the work, which is Saturn. All right, so it's a great week still, as was the case last week, for growth, opportunity for growth, opportunity for work. All right, putting in that both open mind of Jupiter. You know, this is the manifestation of thinking big, seeing the big picture, having an open perspective, possibilities, and bringing that into the other side of manifestation, which is the actual work, Saturn, right? The discipline, the grounded energy, the time management, energy management, all of this stuff that actually produces results in the physical world. So anyways, good harmony there. I think it's great for utilizing this, seeing where we can cultivate some long-term things in our life. Both are long-term planets. And both in terms of seeing the big picture with Jupiter, open-mindedness, as well as the work with Saturn. So that's the Yeah, that's the aspects there this early part of the week. Then as we get into the weekend, this is where we start to get into more of the triggering aspects in terms of events. Again, your personal chart will play more of a role early in the week, but in terms of these collective things, more of an eventful weekend in terms of this whole new beginning since last Monday. So what's basically happening here is that, first of all, Mercury retrograde is going over Mars in Leo. Okay, so he's going to go over Mars, but at that same time, Mars is trining up to Uranus exact. And then going into next week, Mercury will be trining up to Uranus exact. So that's basically what we've got here. And, to kind of set the stage for this, and this is basically what's been going on and will be all week, is all of this Leo energy, right? We've had the sun in Leo, really good time to be expressing ourselves, getting into that creative energy, right? That's where the solar eclipse was, right? It's this whole new beginning about doing things because we enjoy them, or we enjoy spending time with them, or enjoy spending time with those that are close to our hearts, right? The people in our life. So this is what is being cultivated, and with the sun, we're gaining energy right now through expressing ourselves, through having a bit of fun, through invoking a bit of that passion, lighter side of ourselves, right? That Leo energy. And Mercury retrograde, on the other hand, is helping us learn about all this. What is it that we enjoy? What is it that we're passionate about, right? What is our self-expression? And so with the retrograde, of course, being flexible and adaptive, but then you got Mars here as well. We're motivated here, probably very direct with our self-expression right now. Maybe it's that expression verbally, but also through any projects or things that motivate us that we enjoy in life, right? So with this conjunction with Mercury over Mars, I think there's going to be a lot of information. I think it's an insightful weekend, especially with Uranus, because Uranus is all about thinking outside the box, especially with Mercury trines up to Uranus. Right, we sort of get this dose of learning about some new and different things. We're seeing things in a way we don't normally see them. It's very progressive, very innovative, right? And that's where we can be gaining some of the new ideas. And we could even be creating a lot of change because of it. We're just more open to change. We're feeling more freer this weekend. And with Mars trine Uranus, we could be motivated towards something new and different. Right? Maybe based on those ideas, or maybe just wanting a bit of that freedom, change, freedom of action, freedom of being ourselves. Mars is very much who we are, right? Freedom of being who we are, taking action towards the things we want, towards the things we desire in life. But that's what we're learning about. Mercury retrograde over Mars is saying, look, we don't exactly know just yet what it is we desire here with this Leo energy. I mean, we do, but we also don't. And this is a weekend where we could be learning about that. And again, Mercury is going to go direct here in just a few days after the weekend. Well, actually just early next week. So things will be moving forward, but this is a kind of weekend where it's just excellent to be learning more about who we want, or who we are and what we want, right? And our desires in general. Okay, re-examining our goals as well. All right, where have we been setting our goals? What have we been pursuing? What motivates us? All right, this is all going through this retrograde, this reflection. But at the same time, I think there is information that can assist us along the journey, especially once Mercury goes retrograde next week. All right, so it's that kind of a weekend. Mercury's also the routine too, so I think it's a great weekend for change, trying new things, right? Mixing up that routine, daily stuff. Very nice weekend for Uranus. And Uranus has been in Pisces. So this is a type of freedom that's more about peace, more about letting go, having faith, surrendering. I think it'll be an easy weekend to do that. I also want to touch on that Venus is in Cancer. She was here last week as well. I think the Leo energy is taking more of the forefront this week, but as a backdrop, Venus in Cancer means that we could be enjoying more of the receptive aspects of life. Maybe spending time at home or with family. Maybe with getting in good health, connecting to our bodies, intuition. More of this reflective energy, maybe reflecting on the past a bit can be enjoyable. And Venus is also relationships as well. So the way in which we're connecting collectively right now is in this more Cancerian way, this more receptive way. It's very good to be connecting in a way that's more in touch with our feelings right now. And maybe even with those that are close to us emotionally, intrinsically, like family, for example, but anyone that we're connected to on that emotional level. But also too, just in the general interactions with everyone on a day-to-day level, really good for connecting in terms of this more emotional level as well. So it's a backdrop, but I wanted to mention that because she still is in Cancer, and she'll be in Cancer next week also. All right, so that's the week generally. Let's go and look at this individually for each of your signs. Down in the comment section, there are timestamps for each of the signs. You can just click the timestamp, take you directly to your signs portion of the video. All right, Aries, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's talk about these placements first. You got all these planets in your 5th house, very much like the collective reading as is usually the case for you. But here more personally, 5th house matters could certainly be emphasized, as I'm sure they have been. So 5th house is everything from romance to spending time with our kids, to creative projects, to entrepreneurship, to speculation, and to having fun in general and expressing yourself. I think fundamentally the 5th house is about self-expression. So that's where your ruler is, Mars, that's where the sun is, but it's also where Mercury retrograde is. So you are re-examining, these things, your hobbies, interests, perhaps, some of these other areas I mentioned, they're going through this reevaluation. And so that's what you want to do, be flexible this week. When Mercury goes over your ruler at the end of the week, I think there is going to be a lot of re-examination about who you are and where you're headed and what you want. This is your ruler with Mercury retrograde. So there could be uncertainty with it, but I think it's more of just learning. And I think the more open you are to learning, I think all week long, but especially over the weekend, it's just a great way of utilizing this retrograde. And like I said, Mercury is going to go direct early next week. So this is all going to be part of the insights you gain about this area. And maybe even too in terms of whatever it is you're putting energy towards, because on some level you are putting energy towards this area, and it could be another weekend for that. But let's touch on this Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn, which is going to be playing the dominant energy of the week simply because we don't have any other major aspects coming into the week. And so this is the good synergy here where I think you've been working hard on the deeper things in life lately, the past couple years, probably with healing or transformation in your life, or maybe just getting more open and intimate with yourself, with life, with relationships. But that's where the hard work has been. Some of you too, maybe with shared resources or other people's money, some sort of work and patience needed on that level. But anyways, it's in good harmony here, and it's synergizing to where Jupiter's been. So, this week, it's great to also see where the potentials are with your day-to-day work. Whatever you do on a day-to-day level, this is flowing. There's synergy. There's, you know, this potential as you open your horizons and think big, or just open your mind to possibilities with the work or the routine or your personal growth, anything having to do with this daily stuff. You're going to find that really helps you build it, because then you're bringing Saturn into it. You can be implementing some of the hard work there with the routine or work, right? And that's actually manifesting in a physical sense those possibilities. And vice versa, seeing the big picture with some of the stuff you've been working on with the deeper side. Some of you might be continuing to learn more about this, or philosophies or ideas that are helping you really to connect to what matters most in life, right? The deep, intimate, raw connection that Saturn's been helping you build. So good synergy in both of those areas, and you could even find that you're bringing in a bit of that openness into the routine, and as some of that work of routine into the 8th house, either transformation, healing, or matters relating to shared resources. All right, so that's going to play the dominant energy in terms of the backdrop, although it's not getting aspected. That was last week. But you know, the first quarter phase coming into this week is just excellent for all of this implementation from last Monday. If you've had any new things you've been considering, rethinking, involving your self-expression. All right, 5th house stuff, great for taking action on this week. So let's talk about this weekend. So yeah, Mercury retrograde over your ruler. It's going to go exact Saturday, Sunday time. Learning a lot about who you are, what you want, what you're about. And even too about some of this deeper stuff as well, because Mars does rule your 8th house of intimacy, openness, transformation, healing, whatever's been emphasized there for you. And I think it is about you expressing yourself probably in a more meaningful way, in a way that does align more with what you're truly about, what you truly value, you know, with Mars in that 5th house of yours. But yeah, learning, I think it's a great weekend for flexibility with Mercury over your ruler. Just understanding that information is still changing. And so because new information is coming to light, good to be as flexible as possible. Now the Mars trining up to Uranus could leave you feeling quite free this weekend. Quite free, yeah, most certainly. And like being yourself, eccentric, outside the box, maybe connecting with friends, groups, community related stuff, maybe technology, innovation, all of this stuff that is future oriented and progressive. But just so supportive for you this weekend. I think it can be a very freeing weekend, maybe even exciting weekend actually. The more open you are to doing some new and different things there. All right, and then the Mercury trine Uranus can give you some ideas, maybe about some of the self-expression stuff. Again, Mercury's finishing his retrograde, but trining up to Uranus is giving you some intuitive insight here. All right, and maybe where you can bring in some of this freedom of self-expression, excitement with the self-expression. And it's all part of this even easygoingness with the self-expression, which has been Uranus in your 12th house for the past like 8 years, helping you find the freedom of surrender, faith, trust, letting go, living in the present moment. And you know, when we're really creative, we are present, right? All right, and then of course you do have Venus down here in your 4th house, just as a reminder. Really good time still as a backdrop to be enjoying home, family, your health, reflective energy, your private life, personal life, with Venus down there at the bottom of the chart. All right, Aries, so have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share down below your experiences with it, and share this video with your friends and family as well. Wishing you the very best week, and I will see you all very soon for the next daily or weekly forecast. Take care. All right, Taurus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at the placements here. You have a lot of concentration of energy both in your 3rd house and your 4th house. Your 3rd house, because that's where your ruler Venus is. So you've likely been, since last week, maybe getting involved in practical things. In fact, this practical house, which is about learning, communication, language, computers, anything that's about the practical side of ourselves, reading, writing. This area has been emphasized for so long because you've had the fast-moving planets already go through Cancer and then went into Leo, but it was all activating it. But right now, still here. And I think it's great to be enjoying it, particularly when Venus is in the third, enjoying some of this practical stuff in life. All right, learning. Some of you may be doing some practical learning. Others may be taking a course. Some of you might be enjoying some of that communication, learning about communication, this type of stuff. So great to be expanding on that area, even though Venus is not getting aspected this week. Certainly great for cultivating both the practical and the communicative. Even some of you too, business, trade, maybe some of you as well, connecting with your siblings or your peers can also be enjoyable. So the fourth house is where all most of the planets are. And this is likely where your focus is right now at this time. Maybe on personal matters, some of you on your home, on family, maybe with your health, either of those. And so this is where your source of energy is. You may actually be feeling like your energy in a cyclical sense might be at a bit of a low at this part of the cycle with Mars and the Sun at the bottom of the chart. But it's so that you can channel this energy into the more personal stuff in your life. Home, family, health are some common examples. But this is also the area that's being reworked, rethought, re-examined. Home, health, these types of matters. Good to be trying a bunch of different things, new things, being flexible, being adaptive, learning, open-mindedness. All right, this is the information you're gaining at this time. So then when Mercury goes direct next week, you'll be actually then implementing a lot of the stuff you learn about this more personal stuff in life, these roots in life, our anchors in life, our foundations. Some of you even reflecting on the past, learning more about that as well. All right, so that's the placements, and this week we have that Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn still, so there is good synergy still, I think, in terms of your relationship sector and your self-expression sector. Saturn has been helping you take your relationships seriously over the past couple of years in terms of you building relationships that are just real, raw, just built on solid foundations, and so it's another good week for that, just an opening to continue to develop your relationships in a slow, steady sort of manner. But also, too, to see the big picture with what you enjoy. Jupiter in the fifth house. Hobbies, interests can be expanded. Should be opportunities, new things you're learning about this. Great time to get out there, have some fun with Leo, or with the fifth house. Express yourself, right? That's where the opportunities are, and it's just a sextile, so we can choose or choose not to use it, but there is good synergy between those two sectors of your chart. All right, so then as we get into the weekend, I also want to say too, again, this week is great for taking action towards these new beginnings from this first quarter phase. All right, so if there's been any insights regarding your home, regarding your location, regarding family, regarding your health, really good week to take the action steps towards cultivating this stuff for the long term. Again, with flexibility though, with that Mercury retrograde. So anyways, Friday through Sunday, we have the triggering aspects here, the actual exact aspects. And it's going to be Mars trining up to Uranus, probably helping you feel quite free with your relationships actually. Mars does rule your seventh, so it could be a good weekend for change there, maybe doing something new and exciting, or maybe something exciting happening in the relationship sector, but good to be open-minded in that area nonetheless. And you're going to be re-examining that area as well with Mercury retrograde going over Mars, okay? Now, the other area that this is affecting here is also your 12th house. I think it's a really good weekend for getting some relaxation or some R&R, doing something that's different and unique in that area. Okay, what relaxes you, but maybe it's more active in that sense, or maybe it's just different, unique. Some of you may be spending some time with your friends. Community can be exciting and different with Uranus in the 11th. Okay, or some of you are seeing some new potentials about your future, actually. The 11th house is the house of your aspirations. All right, seeing some potentials about the future, some new ideas, some intuitive insights. Okay, so great weekend for learning, and I think fundamentally what it's really about, it's all happening in the area of your home or your health. Okay, that's fundamentally what this is all about. But yeah, there could be some new unfoldments in the relationship area, learning about that area, making some changes there, so there's some freedom there. Also with the friends, the aspirations, and also with a bit of that easygoingness as well. All right, so let me see. I think that pretty much covers it. Yep, so Taurus, if you have any questions, please let me know if you have them. I'm more than happy to answer them down in the comment section. Wishing you the very best week, and thank you again for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you did find this video helpful, be sure to like, comment, and share. It's very much appreciated. And I will see you all very soon for the next daily or weekly forecast. Take care. All right, Geminis, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at these placements. You've got your ruler retrograde still, going direct early next week, but still a great time to be re-examining some things, taking a step back perhaps to do that re-examination. And all of this is happening in your third house of practical matters, your house actually. So this is the house of language. It's the house of communication. All right, maybe some of you are learning some things in that department or rethinking some things in that department. This includes also writing as well. Okay, for those of you that are editing or redoing something that you've written. It's also the house of reading in terms of practical knowledge. Some of you could be really getting into the practical side of life at this time, doing some extra reading and practical knowledge of learning practical things like mechanics or engineering or computer science or whatever, third house. And so whatever it is, though, for you, really good to just learn about. And I think fundamentally learn about what you enjoy with the practical stuff, because, again, it's your house. It's very much associated with what you're about. It's Leo. It's what you're passionate about. And just learning, right? Flexibility, adaptability. And a lot of the stuff you're learning in this area is going to start to move forward for you early next week once Mercury goes direct. So it's also the area of new beginnings. So again, this week we're in the first quarter phase. So if there was any new insights about this area, even though again they're still in this reflective state, if there was any new ideas here since last Monday, really good for implementation, really good to challenge yourself. Also be patient with this area too coming into the week. But as you go into the weekend, you'll notice there's more momentum, there's more support for whatever these new beginnings are. And these are, again, transformative new beginnings, all part of the solar eclipse, just taking us into this whole solar cycle, which a lot of these things will be, we'll be seeing the high point with them around February during the next set of eclipses. All right, and then as a side note, you do have Venus in your second house, so it is good for enjoying some of the values, the resources. Some of you may be attracting some resources, finances, investments. Some of you just enjoying the simple life right now. It's great. Good meal, relaxation, things like that can be very enjoyable at this time. And being grateful for what we have. Now, this week, we still do have Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn. So there is still this synergy here between these two areas. One is your home and your health sector, your fourth house, home or health. So, it's just been such a great time of learning more about this area. And there's been opportunities here to either get in good health or to, get your foundation set with your home life and stuff like that. So this is a good supportive week for those matters, and also too with your work. I think over the past couple of years, a lot of you have been putting in a lot of hard work with your routine or your actual work, things like that. So it's another good week of synergizing the two. You can find a good harmony between your personal life and your work life, or your home life and your sort of routine life. And yeah, it's a nice synergy there with those two areas. So this weekend is when we get into the actual triggering aspects with Mars and Mercury. So your ruler is going to go over Mars. It could be a weekend where you're feeling quite motivated, quite driven, quite direct. Again, as is the case with all retrogrades, though, you are always re-examining your goals anyways, re-examining who you are, what you're about, where you're headed, even as well the personal life stuff, because Mercury does rule the 4th house, so matters again relating to home or health are also being rethought or reconsidered. But with that being said, there is this drive, there's this motivation. I think it's an excellent weekend for that, pursuing your personal needs, maybe even getting into some of that work and routine, day-to-day self-improvement stuff could be great, and maybe even connecting with friends or your community as well. But the trine up to Uranus is saying that, you know, there's been this past 8 years of you finding more freedom with your career or your productive life. And that's in good synergy. So some of you may be getting some new insights about your career, your productive life. Again, it's all supporting this practical area of language, of communication, reading, writing, all of this. And so an excellent weekend for those areas. I think fundamentally what this new beginning is about, it is about your practicality, 3rd house, but it's certainly affecting multiple areas here. All right, and you're feeling quite free. I think it's a great weekend for being yourself, thinking outside the box, your individualism as Mercury starts to turn up to Uranus going into next week. You know, it's not just about ideas for you. It's actually you who's going through this sort of individualism, change, this revolution, not really like transformation, just being yourself, just letting go of the chains, breaking the chains, so you can be who you truly are. All right, so Geminis, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share it down below. It's very much appreciated. And I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Cancer, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at some of these placements. You have all this concentration of energy in your 2nd house at this time. This is where the solar eclipse was, so the new beginnings from last week, you may have been noticing, are about either your inner or outer resources. Okay, so in the outer resources, this could be investments, savings, income, but fundamentally the inner resources here of your sense of self-worth, self-reliance, standing on your own 2 feet to cultivate your values in life. This is what's going through a re-examination, in fact, with Mercury retrograde. So a lot of the new beginnings here with your resources aren't quite moving forward just yet. All right, there's this reflection, there's this redoing, there's this relearning about this area. And so all in all, I think it's great to have that perspective. Be willing to learn about this area. What is it that you value? Maybe redoing the budget of the investments. Maybe rethinking, you know, what your natural gifts are, your inner resources are, right? And in that way, it helps you sort of align to these astrological events. But we are in the 1st quarter phase coming into the week, so I think it'll be great for you to take some action steps, be patient perhaps, maybe towards some of these matters, but challenge yourself here nonetheless with that flexibility of that Mercury retrograde and move some of these forward. You know, these ideas or things forward that have been shaping up for you since last Monday. So I also want to mention that Venus is in your sign. So, you know, usually, typically, good time here for relationships, or they're emphasized. For you, Venus rules your 4th, so home or health could be emphasized. And for others, maybe your friends, connecting with your friends or your community. Venus rules your 11th, but also looking good. You know, this is attraction to who you are. And so usually a good time to go to the salon or get some new clothes or something like that, with moderation, of course. But this whole self-image stuff is really being accentuated when Venus is in the first house. All right, so all week we do have that Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn, right, as a backdrop, which was the case last week, but it's another good reminder to see that the opportunities are with your learning right now, with Jupiter in the third house, practical learning in particular, or maybe just getting into the practical side of life, whether it's reading, writing, language, and even learning like practical things such as engineering or computer programming, or anything that gets into the practical stuff. Some of you may be blogging, journaling, things like this. So whatever's been the case for pretty much the past year now, in terms of what you're learning about this area, and maybe even expanding within this area, a really good week for that still. And that's the sextile up to Saturn. And this is Saturn in your fifth house that's been helping you take seriously your self-expression. This one's been going on for the past 2 years. So, this is now easier. I think you're seeing the flow, especially with Saturn now direct, of things moving forward in terms of where you are building this more grounded type of self-expression. Being patient with the things you're passionate about, wants in life, that you enjoy in life, but you're building it's long term. So great week for self-expression there. That's where the hard work can be, but also see the big picture with that. And then also bring in some of that hard work with the practical stuff. And I think you'll find a good synergy with that as well. All right, then as we get into the weekend, that's where the actual aspects, the exact aspects take place. So this is involving that Mercury retrograde going over Mars in the second. So a lot of you will be learning a lot about the self-expression actually, and a lot about your career. So a great weekend for re-examining what it is you enjoy, hobbies, interests, creative stuff, whatever you've been working on there with Saturn in the fifth. But also, too, in terms of your productive life, your career life. Okay, maybe some rethinking in that department. Maybe some new information you're learning in that department as well. All right, you could be very direct with your communication, actually, with Mars over Mercury. And you could be very motivated to perhaps get some alone time or rest as well. Now, the Uranus side to this is that, as I was saying in the general reading, there is this freedom certainly coming into the mix. And I think this is a freedom, particularly on the freedom side of it for you, in terms of opening your horizons. Uranus has been in your ninth house. It's the house of philosophy. It's the house of travel. It's the house of higher learning, expanding our mind, but also expanding our physical environment. Really good weekend for anything like that. Some of you might be going for hikes or traveling, reading some philosophy, some astrology, things like this. And it could be an exciting weekend for that bigger picture stuff. That freedom invoking stuff. So that's that. And then it's also supporting whatever these new beginnings were from last Monday, helping you maybe learn some new things, giving you some intuitive insight about, again, what you value and your inner resources. And I think a lot of this stuff is going to start to move forward for you next week once Mercury goes direct and we have the full moon from this sector. All right. So Cancers, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share it with your friends and family. And I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Leo, welcome to your weekly forecast. So certainly the emphasis on your sign with all these fast-moving planets in your sign, your first house, and of course the last solar eclipse was in your sign. So certainly been a new beginning with you in terms of your goals in life, your personal wants and needs, your independence. However, this has all been going through a reflection, right? Mercury retrograde, re-examining who you are, where you're headed, what you want in life. So it's very natural, very normal. It's good to be flexible right now. Be open-minded. A great time to be learning about yourself, however you might do that. Some of you may be through reading, but others through action. You know, the first house really is about action, getting out there, taking action, and learning through your experiences. And developing that trust of self, you know, that gut, that intuition, your instincts. But anyways, this is all very much emphasized, and I think it's another great week for challenging yourself here with any goals, any things that are important for, again, your desires and your independence in life. That's going to be the first quarter phase where the moon is squaring up to the sun coming into the week. But as the week unfolds, you'll likely notice more support and more momentum towards whatever it is you could be challenging yourself with here earlier in the week. And just be patient with the area too. The first quarter is also good for patience as well. I do want to mention you have Venus in your 12th, so a lot of you could be enjoying some alone time, tranquil things or spiritual activities, meditation, yoga, things like that. Anything that helps you get into a state of presence while Venus is in the 12th. All right, so all week we do have that Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn, so there is this good synergy here between your second house of your resources. For the past year, it's been excellent for you to expand on this level, whether it's your outer resources such as your income or your investments or your savings. But your inner resources, right? Really accessing that sense of self-worth and learning about what you value. So this is all getting positive support, really good for challenging yourself, bringing that Saturn into the second this week to challenge yourself to build your resources, as has been the case. But another great week for that. And vice versa too, to be patient with the home and health area. Saturn here is helping you build foundations with home and health. And so you are building it. It's taking time, but that's okay. And but another good week nonetheless to see the big picture with it and continue to develop that area as well. All right, so this weekend is when the exact aspects take place, and this is going to be that Mercury retrograde over Mars in your first house, who's then trining up to Uranus in your 8th. So yes, great weekend for learning, again, specifically relating to yourself and your independence. Particularly, you could be learning about maybe some of this home or health stuff, in fact, over the weekend, or redoing it or rethinking it in some way. And also your worldview, just your general perspective on life in general, and you know, your adventurous spirit, whatever that means for you personally, or maybe even your philosophies, going through this sort of reworking, rethinking sort of energy. But at the same time, you could be quite motivated towards your finances and resources, actually, and maybe even motivated to spend some time with your friends or your community in some way. But again, it's all flexible. It's all kind of up in the air. So it's all about learning about these things. And then next week, I think you'll notice what you learned this weekend in particular could certainly be moving forward for you. So the Uranus side to it is all about freedom and change. With Uranus trining up to your first house, you could be feeling quite free, quite eccentric, being who you truly are. We're all eccentric in our own ways, but here actually expressing that, cultivating that, could gain some new insights about some of these areas I mentioned, such as home, health, your philosophy, your worldview, friends, community, and or your finances or investments. Something different, something unorthodox here in terms of how you're seeing it, which can then give you some insight there. And this is fundamentally about how it's been for the past 8 years, this freeing energy of you really getting vulnerable and open and deeper with life and doing healing and all of this. And it's been freeing you up. So it could be a very good weekend for that as well. Just getting, just connecting to what matters most in life and the truth of life, both in terms of our relationships, but also with ourselves and life in general. All right, so Leo, that's the week in a nutshell. Generally, this re-examination of self, goals and all of this, but yeah, it's all part of what you're learning. This, have been learning these past 2 to 3 weeks. That's going to be moving forward for you next week, but still take action. Again, it's great for that with the first house. It's all about our will, asserting our will onto the world through action, through initiation, and getting that fiery energy moving. All right, so Leo, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please comment down below. And if you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share it with your friends and family. All right, Leo, so I'll see you very soon for the next forecast. All right, Virgo, welcome to your weekly forecast. So you have a lot of concentration on your 12th house. For those of you who've been following this weekly, know this. This is where the solar eclipse was. It's a very spiritual time for you in terms of you finding peace in life. And with that Mercury retrograde, re-examining, this deeper stuff in life, whether some of you it's psychological, others it's spiritual. But the fundamental goal of the 12th is to find peace. Is to get to that point where we fully accept ourselves, we fully accept life, we fully accept whatever the mind or whatever is thinking about or is perceiving, and through that it frees us up, it liberates us. This is the house of spiritual transformation. So this is what this whole new beginning is, but it's all again up in the air. You're rethinking, reworking this area with Mercury retrograde here. Information's coming to light. Some of you are learning about spirituality. Some of you are learning about psychology. And so just be flexible, adaptive, and learning about yourself and your beingness, that deep level of yourself, your soul in many ways. But it's more than that. It's your connection to the vastness of life, to the entire universal process. So, but be flexible, be adaptive. You're learning in this area. Could be confusing, but again, it's if the mind is trying to figure things out because your ruler is retrograde in the 12th. Typically, when your ruler is retrograde, it's good to be re-examining, re-evaluating things anyways. But in the 12th, it's more about the deeper, right? It can muddy things because, us with our minds, we want to know things. We want to have things figured out. But in the 12th, it's like not about that so much. It's about connecting to our beingness and our intuition and our inner guidance. So, but a great time for all of this, spiritual activities, meditation, yoga, anything that's going to help you get your alone time, your peace, your relaxation is just great at this time. You also do have Venus in the 11th, so you could be enjoying time with friends or some of you enjoying your future aspirations, connecting on that level, and maybe even attracting some of those future aspirations as well. So this week we have Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn. This is Jupiter in your first house. Been here for the past year. Really good time for your independence, expanding your horizons, thinking big, seeing potentials. Another good week for that, although not getting activated. Just a reminder that anything that involves you expanding who you are and taking action into the world, even though there's all this receptive energy taking place, you taking action towards the things that you want in life with that willingness to let go of what is outside of your control is fantastic and has been. And it's just kind of a backdrop to the week. The Saturn in your third, a lot of you have been working hard and needing some perhaps patience and building some things involving your mind and communication and learning and the practical stuff. Saturn's helping you build foundations with your mind and your practical side at this time and about practical things. But a good week for that. You got the synergy here between yourself, your expansion, your goals, your independence, harmonizing with communication, harmonizing with learning, sharing, maybe connecting with your peers or your siblings in this way that's grounded, disciplined, patient for the long term. All right, so this weekend, Friday through Sunday is when we have the actual triggering aspects. And this is going to be essentially that Mercury retrograde going over that Mars in your 12th. I think you're going to be learning a lot about whatever this means for you personally, about faith, about surrender, about trust. And I think it's exciting. I think with this turn up to Uranus, which could be involving relationships for you on some level, it's bringing in easygoingness into the relationships. It's also bringing relationships into this deeper, more beingness, this tranquil area of your life. So, but in either case, I think with your ruler trining Uranus, just great to be thinking outside the box, trying new and different things, innovative, and freedom, all right? Cultivating that freedom in your life. Some of you too, maybe even getting some insights about your career, productive life this weekend. Again, give it some time. Mercury is going to go direct early next week, but you could be learning about that nonetheless, and even learning about some of that communication stuff, deeper stuff, in terms of vulnerability, openness, trust, and and even motivated just in general. I mean, even though it's 12th house, you're probably finding what motivates you, in a way that's more receptive, all right? Getting things done in a more receptive way, and with acceptance and with trust and faith and all of that. So a very good weekend though with the Uranus, I think, for thinking outside the box, finding out what motivates you here with the spiritual dimensions of life, and learning, being open to learning, because a lot of this will be moving forward for you starting next week. All right, so Virgos, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Libra, welcome to your weekly forecast. So the concentration of energy here for you is on the 10th house and the 11th house. 10th house is where your ruler Venus is, so I think it's still a great time to be connecting to your career, your productive life, and maybe even forming some relationships there. Really seeing what matters most to you in this area and developing it nonetheless. And the 11th house being the second from the 10th, when you see there's planets in both, usually it's also pertaining to career here, or can be. And so the second from the 10th is the value we derive from our career. So it's an excellent time for focusing on the income you derive from your work. Also to fundamentally what you value about your work, because it's not always for money, especially with the 11th house. It's more of the enjoyment of it. And connecting with your peers or your network circles involving your career, whatever this is. Or just in general, the 11th house is the house of friends. A lot of you are simply focused on your friends at this time, maybe your community, maybe some of you on social media or technology, innovative things, forward-thinking things, and fundamentally your aspirations. What do you hope for into the future? What do you aspire towards? What are your hopes and wishes? And this is all going through a reflection, though, with Mercury retrograde. All the values from your career, the network circles, the aspirations. It's all going through a reflection. So be flexible, adaptive. Mercury's going to go direct next week, and all the stuff you learn this week will be applied moving forward next week onward. All right. So in terms of the general backdrop to basically the work week, Jupiter in your 12th is sextiling up to Saturn in your 2nd. So a lot of you have been putting in some hard work or just needing to be patient here with your finances or investments or savings, this material stuff. You're building it though. It's being built. It's taking time. And so a great week though to continue to implement this patient long-term energy with that area. And also too to get your alone time, as has been the case for the past year, for you to see the synchronicities of life, the beauty of when we do have faith and trust and how everything aligns with that. Jupiter's all about the wisdom, helps you see deeply here, 12th house, how everything is interconnected and how we're exactly where we're supposed to be in any now moment. But you can see that with Jupiter. And even giving you opportunities to get your alone time, your rest, the receptive energy. Another great week for that as well. All right, so the actual triggering aspects will be this weekend when Mars trines up to Uranus, Mercury goes retrograde over Mars, and then going into next week, Mercury trines Uranus. So essentially, this is all getting activated again in the area that is about your values, with your values from your career and or your network circles and or your aspirations, however it's manifesting, probably a little bit of each of those for most of you. But yeah, this is where the freedom can be. I think it's a great weekend for thinking outside the box. Like I said, I think you're going to gain some new insight about this area. You could even be re-examining some of the financial values, the material values, and maybe re-examining your relationships as well, and maybe learning some things about those, your values, your relationships. And you could be quite motivated, in fact, to expand your horizons, to think big, to see the big picture in general. And again, maybe to tap into some of that receptive energy, getting your alone time, things like that. So it's all fundamentally, again, about the forward-thinking energy. That's what you're fundamentally learning about. And with Uranus in the 6th house, how you can have freedom with your routine, freedom with your work. A lot of you have been developing more freedom with your work the past 8 years. And so this is all now supporting you towards these future things, these things larger than yourself, these values in terms of the future. All right, so Libra, have a fantastic week. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please like, comment, and share it with your friends and family. And I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at where the concentration of energy is. It's up here in your 10th house of career, of your productive life. This has been the area of new beginnings, but also the area of re-examination. So there's a lot to still learn about this area all week, especially over this weekend when Mercury retrograde goes over your ruler Mars. But be flexible here in this area, but move it forward. You know, we're coming into this week in the first quarter. It's good to be taking action, perhaps, towards some of these things involving the big picture, career, productive stuff, whatever it is for you, public image for some of you, achievement, success for some of you. Be patient with it, but take steps towards it. And again, with that flexibility with Mercury retrograde, because things aren't quite moving forward yet, it seems, with the retrograde, and it's because there's things to be redone with it. So maybe use that square, that first quarter phase coming into the week to re-examine, to rethink, redo this area. Now, with that being said, as a backdrop to the week, we do have that Jupiter sextiling up to Saturn energy. So this was exact last week, but still in orb right now. This is where you can certainly be expanding on the level of your network circles, as has been the case for the past year, maybe connecting with your community. Or if it's not social like that for you, maybe the forward stuff in your life, like your aspirations, thinking big. What are your hopes and wishes for the future? And even technology and innovation for some of you. So that's another good week for that. And also, too, of being patient towards just things in general. You know, Saturn's been in your signs for the past couple of years. So there's this slow and steady, grounded energy has been implemented with you. But, you know, Saturn's going to leave your sign here in a few months, actually, by the end of the year. And so you're kind of just wrapping things up, finishing some things here involving these responsibilities. But it's a positive week for that. You got Jupiter sextiling into the first. You see the big picture, the potentials there with your goals and what you want. And likewise, you can be bringing in some of that grounded Saturn energy into your aspirations and network circles. All right, so the weekend is when we have the exact aspects, particularly important for you because it's involving your ruler Mars. You're going to have Mars trining Uranus, Mercury retrograde over your ruler Mars, and then Mercury trine Uranus. So that configuration. So basically what this is that, first of all, I think most fundamentally you're going to be learning a lot about yourself this weekend in some way, whether through action or maybe some of you through study or books or something, you know, self-improvement or something like that. But you're rethinking who you are and what you want. And that's great. Use this weekend for that. It's a great weekend for learning in general when Mercury's over the ruler like this. And you could even be learning more about, again, your career and even your work and your routine, personal growth and all of this. It's just great at this time to be re-examining. And some of you could be very motivated towards, again, network circles, friends, groups, community stuff with Mars over Mercury. I do want to mention that as sort of a side note. And this is a Uranus that's been in your 5th house. You know, the past 8 years, a lot of you have been finding new and different ways of expressing yourself, all right, and expressing your true self, or, you know, your creative projects or your hobbies, interests, anything that you create or is close to your heart, you've been finding more freedom with. And so now it's very supportive. That freedom of self-expression is now synergizing very well with this productive energy that is unfolding for you. And as I said, next week, once Mercury goes direct, a lot of this productive stuff will probably make more sense or start to flow a little bit. Give it time, of course, but start to move forward. And then we have the full moon, which will be a high point of whatever this life path shift has been with this 10th house. I do also want to mention, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, that Venus is in your 9th house. So it is a good time, as it was last week, to connect with philosophy, higher learning, learn some big picture things, maybe access a bit of that adventurous spirit as well. Literally expanding your horizons through travel, or if it's not major like that, through going for walks or hikes, going out to the rural lands out of the city or something like that to expand your horizons. Very nice there. All right, so hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. And yeah, if you like this video, please comment, like, and share it with your friends and family. And I'll see you very soon for the next forecast. All right, Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at the placements here. You have a lot of concentration in your 9th house, which is actually your house. For those of you who've been following this channel, you know that this is where the solar eclipse was. So all the new beginnings that are shaping up for both the short term and the long term do have to do with you expanding your horizons. It could be mentally through higher learning, or it could also be quite literally, such as through adventure or travel. So whatever it is, it's a new beginning here, but Mercury is retrograde, right? So there's this whole re-examination, rethinking, redoing in this area. And I think as you are willing to do that this week, and maybe in this first quarter phase, coming into the week, challenging yourself to learn about this area and rework this area. So whatever that means for you, 9th house could be anywhere from university to philosophy to astrology to travel to matters relating abroad, and also marketing, because that's spreading the information. So this stuff, that's about expansion though. Certainly a new beginning, but yes, Mercury retrograde, good to be flexible and adaptive, be willing to learn, because with that information, things can be changing. Now, as a backdrop to the week, we do have Jupiter sextiling Saturn, so this good synergy from last week. I think it's still a reminder that the emphasis really is on your career and your productive life, I think has been for the past year, with your ruler in the 10th house. And so it's another good week for this. I think putting in some of that productive energy or, hard work into this area that I think you're thinking big about or seeing potentials with, because you're open-minded with it, you have a bit of luck right now with the productive career area, which is great. And a lot of you have been working hard the past couple years on your spiritual development, maybe getting in some good healthy habits or getting rid of some unhealthy habits, so you can find healthier ways of finding peace and doing the work psychologically with yourself through that acceptance and that surrender and faith and trust and development of letting go of what is outside of your control. And it's really grounding you. So these two areas are getting not activated, but they're emphasized. And so I think putting in the hard work towards the career productive life to create those opportunities into something real, and then vice versa, to maybe see the big picture and potential with what you can continue to work on and develop with this spiritual development of yours. Now, the weekend is when we have the actual aspects. So Mars is going to be conjunct that retrograde Mercury in the 9th house. So I think you'll be learning a lot about, again, that area of adventure or open-mindedness, but also, too, particularly about your self-expression, which you find fun, and matters relating to what's close to your heart. You could be re-examining, and also re-examining some of this spiritual stuff as well. you know, what it means to have faith, trust, maybe getting some alone time, reflecting on that type of stuff. But you're very motivated, I think, towards your career this weekend. You're also very motivated towards your relationships. So really good areas for that. And like I said, it's just a great weekend for mixing things up. It can be exciting. It can be expansive for you. And maybe it's involving home, family, or your health. Uranus has been transiting your 4th. So the past 8 years here, you've been finding freedom with this area, home or health, what it means to have freedom here and change here. So you got the support now, and in the sense that you're probably wanting freedom and change. It's easy to have that freedom and change with your personal life and your open horizons and some of those other areas I mentioned. So great week for mixing things up. And again, with that retrograde Mercury, just relearning, re-examining, because once Mercury goes direct next week, I think you'll find a lot of the stuff you're learning then makes sense and you're implementing it forward. All right, Sagittarius, have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. And I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Capricorn, welcome to your weekly forecast. So for those of you who've been following this channel, you know there's been a lot of concentration lately on your 8th house. This is the house of intimacy. It's the house of openness. And this is, about life fundamentally, really connecting to what matters most in life. And it's also the area of healing and transformation for those of you going into this deep area at this time, to really, go into where there might be some fears or bondages and patterns holding you back that you can break free from. It's the house of transformation, and it's usually from breaking free of any unhealthy patterns or just past patterns in general. And they're usually rooted in that fear there. So really good for that, but you're rethinking, re-examining this area as well with Mercury retrograde. So although there's new beginnings, it's also not new beginnings just yet. So be flexible, be adaptive, try new things, learn about this area. And I think you'll find that helps align you with these transits. And, too, also the 8th house could be shared resources. So some of you are maybe dealing with matters regarding debts or loans or inheritances, things like this that are also starting, but also going through a reworking as well. So in terms of the backdrop to the week, you still do have Jupiter sextiling up to your ruler Saturn, who's been in your 11th house. As a reminder, that's still great to be developing your aspirations at this time, building your future. And some of you too, with your network circles or your friends, maybe taking that area seriously, taking community seriously, but being patient with this area, of course. But anyways, another good week of maybe some support there with your either aspirations or network circles, or can be with the sextile, and vice versa with your adventurous side. It's been a great opportunity this past year for you to expand your horizons, whether it's literally or whether it's through philosophy or higher learning. And so it's a great week for implementing some of that hard work and patience, which is very natural for you, Capricorns. Bringing some of that hard work and patience towards building some of these potentials, this big picture stuff, and this adventurous spirit of your life. So this weekend is when we have the actual exact aspects, which is going to be involving Mars and Mercury in that 8th. Mercury retrograde over Mars means you could be re-examining matters relating to your home or your health this weekend and maybe learning some things about that. And again, re-examining probably your future aspirations in some way, maybe redoing, rethinking some things there. And as I said, a lot of this will start to move forward for you next week. Really good week for motivating yourself towards, again, that intimacy and openness with yourself, with life, with relationships, but also too maybe motivated towards your work or your routine and anything you do on a daily level there. All right, so this is all from a Uranus, by the way, that's in your 3rd house. So really for the past 8 years, a lot of you have been finding freedom of communication, of speaking, of doing practical things, and just getting into that more inquisitive and curious side to yourself. So with Mercury retrograde, with Uranus in your 3rd, I think it's just a fantastic weekend for learning in general. whatever it is, whether you're picking up the book or, learning through experience or whatever it is. Great for open-mindedness, great for curiosity. And I think what you'll find is a lot of the stuff you're learning this week, which again, I think is fundamentally about what matters most in life, will be moving forward for you once that Mercury goes direct and we have the full moon next Wednesday. All right, so Capricorn, have a fantastic week. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share it with your friends and family. It's very much appreciated. And I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Aquarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So the concentration of energy, as a lot of you know, is on your 7th house of relationships and developing your relationship qualities such as give and take, cooperation, mutuality. And that's where the new beginnings were from the last solar eclipse. But with that being said, Mercury is retrograde. So there's this whole re-examination, rethinking, redoing about relationships. So even though things are moving forward, they're also not in many ways. And I think they will certainly by next week once Mercury goes direct. But this week is still learning about it, still redoing, rethinking this area. Be flexible with this area. New information is coming to light. And that should help you align to this time period. Now, Jupiter is still sextiling up to your ruler Saturn this week. So there is good harmony here with your career life and the shared resources area of your life, or the deeper side to life, intimacy in life as well. That's where Jupiter's been expanding for you the past year, seeing the potentials with trust and trusting others and really connecting to what matters most in life. So that's good and nothing major, but as a backdrop. And then also too, in terms of just still being patient with the career stuff, productive stuff, that's the long term for you with your ruler in the 10th. But a bit of flow here, something here supporting it this week, if you felt that last week. All right, so that's the backdrop. This weekend is when we have the actual triggering aspects with Mercury and Mars. Mercury retrograde is going to go over Mars in that 7th. So again, learning about relationships, but maybe this weekend, maybe rethinking, reexamining that career and that productive life. Also maybe rethinking matters relating to communication or practical matters. Okay, and maybe communication in your relationships, or maybe how that career ties into your relationships is possible. And also, too, you could be very direct with your self-expression. Good weekend for that. Whatever your outlet is for your self-expression, motivated there. And then also, too, probably to get to the real, raw truth of the matter, connect on a deeper level, also emphasized over the weekend. So this is all coming from a Uranus in your 2nd house. A lot of you over the past 8 years have been finding the freedom of connecting to your inner resources, your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, and even your outer resources, having freedom with finances, investments, savings, things like this. So it frees you up. And so it's a great weekend for that. I think you'll find that there's something new and different and exciting, maybe with the resource sector, maybe with those relationships, and they kind of synergize here. And it's exciting, it's different, a great weekend for mixing things up, trying new things, all with that retrograde, re-examining, redoing, just being flexible with it, but moving forward next week. And I also want to mention, too, you do have Venus in your 6th house. So as a backdrop, I think you can be enjoying the routine or the work or the day-to-day stuff, which is the area of connection as well. All right, so Aquarius, have a fantastic week. I hope this was helpful for you. Please like, comment, and share it with your friends and family to help spread the word here about Sidereal. And wishing you the very best week. All right, Aquarius, take care. All right, Pisces, welcome to your weekly forecast. So for those of you who've been following the blog, you know a lot of the concentration of energy here is on your 6th house. This is the house of your work, your routine, and anything you do on a day-to-day level. So there are new beginnings unfolding with this area, but then there's also not because of the retrograde Mercury. We're re-examining, we're rethinking this area. And so it's good, though, this week with the first quarter phase to challenge yourself to develop anything that you are thinking about or have been learning about involving your work or routine or your personal development or finding solutions to things. This is all 6th house. So if you're willing to learn and open-minded, I think that's a great way of working with the first quarter phase, because that's what the Mercury retrograde is helping you do, is re-examine the day-to-day personal growth, how you can improve yourself, improve your life, you could say, or your routine, and improve your work as well. Develop your crafts and skills and whatever it is that you do for your work. So along with that, this week we do have that Jupiter, your traditional ruler, sextiling up to Saturn still from last week. Nothing major, but as a backdrop, it is a reminder that it's still a great time for connecting with your relationships. A lot of you have been learning a lot about relationships this past year, seeing potentials with them. And you're just open-minded about this area, which is giving you perhaps a bit of luck and enjoyment. So another positive week, I think, in terms of developing that area. But also, too, a week of where I think you have been working hard the past 2 years, which is on your future possibilities and potentials in your life path. Maybe some of you working hard on higher learning or matters relating to abroad or travel. So whatever that's been for you, though, there's positive energy, and I think it's good to see the big picture with this area and take it nice and slow and continue to develop it as it continues to unfold up and through the rest of the year. At the end of the year, Saturn will be then shifting into your 10th house, which will be a much more, I mean, he doesn't mind being in the 9th, but 10th house is his house. So that'll be hard work towards your career, your productive life, achievement, success, things on that level. So that's the sort of backdrop there with these planets. Again, no major aspects, so we do get a bit of a pause with the major aspects, the work week, Monday through Thursday. But Venus is in your 5th house, so as a backdrop as well, maybe enjoying a bit of self-expression or spending time with those things or people that are close to your heart. Great for that when Venus is in the 5th. So this weekend is when we have actual triggering aspects involved here. Mercury retrograde is going to go over Mars, and then they're going to be trending up to Uranus. So again, this is fundamentally about the re-examination about your work or routine, whatever it is. And but in particular over the weekend, you might be re-examining maybe your finances or your investments, your resources in general. So good for that re-examination. Also too, in terms of what is your life path? What have you been expanding upon here in terms of the big picture with Saturn? Again, anything that is about higher learning or travel or long distance matters, these types of things will likely be on your mind, and it'll be good to learn about them in that Mercury retrograde fashion. Now, likewise, you'll likely be very motivated probably towards relationships this weekend, maybe some different things, exciting things, and maybe with those other areas as well, actually, with the trine up to Uranus. And also, too, quite motivated towards your home or your health matters. It would be good to put in that energy there as well. But it is an exciting weekend, as I said, in the general. For you, it's particularly about being yourself. Uranus has been in your 1st house for the past 8 years, helping you, be yourself, be independent, be free. Break those chains, break those fears. And you get a lot of support for that, have had a lot of support for that. But it could be a good weekend of just feeling free, independent, and that very much supporting the routine, supporting the values, your resources, supporting the bigger picture perspective, expanding your horizons there, trying some new and different things with what's possible. All right, so Pisces, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share it with your friends and family. And I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast.